Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai 266, or the 7 Deadly Sins 266, The Follower and the Followed. Now, this was another good chapter. It wasn't like very action-packed. There weren't like hundreds upon hundreds of reveals or major reveals, but it was still a good chapter and I did enjoy reading through it. And especially upon writing my review, there was a lot more to actually talk about than I thought upon initial reading. So the chapter begins with Dreyfus and his squadron, who were tasked with the defense of Lyonesse, or it was the defense of Camelot. I think it might be Camelot. Actually, no, it's one of the two. Let me know what you guys think. Was it Camelot or was it Lyonesse? I've forgotten. But they're tasked with the defense of one of the two kingdoms, and they're currently fighting off hordes of lesser demons. And Dreyfus has just finished clearing up the south gate with his platoon, while Slader and Dawn Raw have successfully fended off some demons at the west gate. We see that a bloodied up Jericho has completed her task of defending the north gate, and we see that she's actually used her innate magical ability, which allows her to manipulate ice, something that we've not really seen her utilize in many chapters. I mean, like probably hundreds of chapters right now. We've not seen, well, there's only 266, but probably I reckon we haven't seen Jericho use it in probably about 100 chapters, probably more. So we then get a soldier who comes and reports major difficulties and troubles at the East Gate, which is where Griamore and his boys are based. And it turns out a very strong demon has appeared, and its appearance is unlike any of the lesser demons we've seen so far. To begin with, it's a lot more humanoid than any of the demons we've seen so far in terms of the lesser demons, even more humanoid than the grey demons. And it has a pale skin, very muscular, and it has 6 circles in numerous places of its body, split into like 2 columns of 3 running down its face. So it has like 6 circles running down its face, 6 circles running down its chest, and then 6 circles running down both knees, which is a very unique design. And it also has what appears to be 5 thorned tentacles sprouting from between its shoulder blades, made completely of the demonic darkness, which we know so little about in terms of its constitution, but we are very well aware of its destructive capabilities. So what I want to know actually here is, and just want to question you guys as well, is how this lesser demon got to be so powerful. How do demons rank up in general? Now, we know Albions can't really rank up because they're kind of like, they're war machines, they're kind of soulless creations of the demon clan. But the other demons, the red demons, grey demons, green demons, ash demons, all of them, whatever, how do they rank up? Is it that a red demon or a grey demon, through battles and like just training and all that, through many battles, do they gain intelligence, becoming more sentient and gaining new forms to kind of match this sentience? Or are demons kind of born into power, with the weak being born weak and the strong being born strong, or the capability to be strong, are they born with that cemented already? Because either way, this demon is different to the lesser demons so far. But I want to know, like, how did he get to this point? Because we've not seen anything like him so far. So maybe he was like a lesser demon that's worked his way up, and maybe that's how the demons actually work. Like, it's like lesser demons work their way up, and then eventually, if they get to be like awesome, they can become a commandment or something like that. But that happens rarely. Hence why there's only 10 commandments at a time. So it turns out that this demon has stabbed Griamore in the gut. Dreyfus pops out. He pops up on the scene debating what to do. He can't really attack because Griamore's in the way. So as he mentally pleads for his son to stay alive, he reaches out his arm to kind of like grab his son, just kind of in desperation. And then something very unique happens. Dreyfus legit turns into a giant, saving Griamore by grabbing him and pulling him out of harm's way, or further harm's way. Now Dreyfus assumes here, and it's pretty much like, if you knew what Fraudrin could do, it's pretty much concrete at this point that Fraudrin has provided Dreyfus with some of his own strength or ability, which was full size, in order to save his son. So full size allowed Fraudrin to change his size to become essentially a giant, and to reap the benefits of that, which is added mass, added power, all that kind of stuff. So I thought this was very cool, because we've been told prior to this that Fraudrin did actually care for Griamore, and he respected Dreyfus by the end of it quite considerably. So the fact that he gifted essentially Dreyfus with his own abilities is really cool, and it did save Griamore in the end. And now we have that scene ending with the new demon, that pale skinned demon with the 5 tentacles made of demonic darkness. He's shivering in fear of the new Dreyfus, and I thought that was pretty cool. So we then go to the Stigma main army, who are up in arms after Esterossa stole away Elizabeth. King offers to go ahead and pursue Esterossa, seeing as he's the only one who can at this point in time, now that Sariel and Tarmiel have been defeated. Only it turns out that Sariel and Tarmiel are both actually fine, and Sariel has gone through a major upgrade in regards to his vessel. Now, firstly, I'd like to say that I'm really glad the Archangels didn't get body bagged by Esterossa. I mean, like, they did to an extent, but they weren't killed. And like I said, they may have been defeated, but they weren't at their max power because of the limits set on them by their vessels. And the the issue in terms of Sariel is that, let's just say, Sariel certainly grew over the last chapter in many ways, providing the audience with some major fan service. And the explanation for this was very, very simple. It was when a high-ranking goddess or demon occupies a human body or the vessel, a huge burden is placed on the vessel, and as a result of this, the vessel can undergo various transformations. Now, I saw it as the vessel kind of has to, the vessel kind of accelerates their growth or accelerates something in order to keep up with the soul that's within it. So if it's a high-ranking goddess or a high-ranking demon, in order to become a vessel that can house that soul at a good rate, they have to accelerate their own growth or something like that. So that's essentially what happened in the case of Sariel's vessel. It grew and it transformed into like what would have happened in later life for that young musician or something like that. So as a result of this, vessels can undergo various transformations, and it's usually physical. So we also find out the nature of how both archangels came about their vessels at this point. Tarmiel occupied the body of an individual who was killed by a lesser demon after the battle festival, after having gained consent from the soul of the deceased individual. And due to the fact that his body, the vessel who he's occupying, is already dead, he hasn't actually undergone any further physical transformations. Meanwhile, Sariel formed a pact with a young entertainer, who turned out to be a she, who had been stricken with an incurable disease, and they basically made a pact. If she borrowed Sariel her body, Sariel would cure her of her incurable disease. So Sariel then informs Stigma and the army there that if they continue to use their graces within these vessels, that the vessels will be destroyed. He also makes mention that Margaret, who's currently occupied by Rudusiel, if Rudusiel continues to, or does in fact go on to abuse his grace, that Margaret's body wouldn't be able to hack the session and would start to degrade, break down, and eventually be destroyed. But Sariel and Tarmiel here do something I didn't really expect them to do, seeing as the goddesses are usually depicted as having no concern for other races apart from their own. Sariel here gives up his vessel, even though his original body hasn't restored itself completely, and that's why they were occupying these human vessels, so that they had enough time to recover their original bodies, and then they could go out and do whatever they wanted. But he gives it up prematurely. He gives up his vessel prior to his original body being restored. And Tariel essentially does the same thing, but he had to give up his vessel because his vessel had just simply run out of juice. His body has reached its limit, so he had to give it up essentially. But it was their reasoning that shook me really, especially considering their goddesses. They didn't want to lie to their vessels, and the pact that they'd formed only ever said that they would borrow the vessel, they would borrow the body, suggesting that they'd be returned eventually as they were. So in the case of Selashi, though, she's actually got her body back with a few enhancements, just a few enhancements, no incurable diseases, and a smoking hot new body. So I also liked actually how Tariel asks for his vessel to receive a proper burial, showing that even the archangels aren't as asshole-ish as they first appeared. So, you know, apart from Rudusiel, he's just an asshat. So with that, Sariel and Tarmiel assume their original forms and prepare to hunt down Esterossa and Elizabeth. Their bodies are also visibly degrading. You can see kind of parts of them just like falling away into the ether or whatever it is. They don't have much time left due to the fact that their bodies are incomplete. So because of that, they legitimately don't have very much time left within the human world, at least. So Hauser questions how they'll defeat Esterossa, seeing as they just got dismantled by him like a few moments ago. The answer to this is a bit weird. They answer first by reiterating that Estarossa did kill Mael, something which we've never heard before. You know, how many times are you going to tell us, bro? So apparently this event catalyzed the breakdown of the goddess clan in the war. So this event, Mael's death, was like a big turning point. That's how it looks like at this moment in time. And Mael's death is what forced them to activate the goddess seal. And they then essentially say that they have to defeat Estarossa here and now in order to bring the holy war to an end. So what was their answer to Haz's original question of how will they defeat Estarossa? They don't have a clue, but they're gonna go and try and do it anyway. However, the important panel here, and I'll put in I'm at like 10:50, so I'll put in a little thumbnail. The important panel here during this discussion was the one with Galtha, where he looks away at the mention of Estarossa having killed Mael. So he is really suspicious right now. I get the feeling that Galtha was majorly responsible for the death of Mael, and may feel guilty because Mael might have been a friend to him, or might have even been a very close friend, and Galtha feels guilty because of this. And we know that Galtha said that he would go and stop the holy war, and according to Sariel and Tarmiel, the death of Mael is what forced them to activate the goddess seal, which originally 3,000 years ago is what stopped the holy war. So there's got to be something that Galtha did in regards to Mael that stopped the holy war, and it's something that he feels really guilty about right now. We then go to Estarossa, who tells Elizabeth mid-flight after she asks him a question that he plans to take her where he and her would always meet when they wanted to meet in secret, much to her shock, because she knows that this is something that should only be known by Meliodas. Only Meliodas knows that one thing where they used to meet in secret, where no one else really knew where they were. So what I've inferred from this little conversation was that Esther is going to take Elizabeth to that forest where he saw Meliodas and Elizabeth hugging for the first time. Now, he might not take her there. They might have had somewhere else. But that was the one place where we saw Esteros appearing in, seeing them there. So he would know of it as well. And not he wouldn't just know about it because he thinks he's Meliodas. That you don't just gain memories from nowhere just because you think you're someone. That's the one place where he saw Meliodas and Elizabeth hugging. So I think that's the place where he's going to go. Now, during this conversation, we see how twisted Estarossa has become. Elizabeth tells him that he is not Meliodas, but he's Estarossa. You know, you're Estarossa, bruh. And his response is to refer to Estarossa as his younger brother. He's like, oh yeah, my younger brother. He doesn't even have the power of darkness, blah blah blah. He's the Demon King's son. Meaning that Estarossa fully thinks, now I wasn't sure about this like a couple chapters ago, but he fully thinks he is Meliodas, and he's not just acting like he thinks like how he thinks Meliodas would or some shit like that. He fully thinks he is Meliodas. He's gone batshit crazy. And as he says this, he goes through like an ocular seizure. You see his eyes just phase out and he starts to fall through the sky because he's just gone limp. And luckily enough, Elizabeth breaks his fall, and while he's on the floor, like just regrouping from this weird seizure he's had, she recognizes the place they've crash landed on. So they must have arrived at whatever location he was going to take her to. Suddenly, Esteros's mighty hand just clenches around Elizabeth's throat, with the consequences of taking in 2 additional commandments finally manifesting themselves. And that's where the chapter ends, with Elizabeth in a chokehold, and Esteros is just going, basically, he's in full rabies mode at this point in time. So the chapter ends there. The Archangels and Kick best arrive quickly, otherwise Elizabeth's in some deep doo-doo. Also, it would be nice to see Elizabeth go in for a change, and at least knock back Esterossa while he's in his rabid form. I really want to see Elizabeth, just put in some work, apart from just being a Mercy main. But yeah, we're in line for part 2 of Esterossa versus the Archangels, so there should be some good chapters lined up and coming up. So that's basically my review. So let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review or anything I had to say. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.